right, welcome everyone. Hopefully you've had a asana practice and you're ready for pranayama. The first pranayama we're going to do is seated. So you can just create a comfortable seated support, maybe a few blankets. And for this practice, we're going to use 3 blankets. And if you own an eye pillow for pranayama, it can be really helpful. Could be just an eye bag that sits over your eyes or something like sleep mask, which is what I like to use. I'm going to save that for later. So as I told you yesterday in the class, we have an 8-limbed path of yoga, and I'm not going to talk at you a bunch right now, but pranayama sits as the 4th on that 8-limb journey, the 8th part of the journey being samadhi or bliss, or the unified oneness experience that we can sometimes touch upon in our practice. And I'm not a religious person, but I do feel like I have experienced something you could call holy or divine, something bigger than myself, feeling of true connection or oneness when I do pranayama. And so we're going to see if we can just kind of cultivate a sense of quietude and a deep inward listening, a sense of stillness, a sense of ease, a sense of peace. And the first pranayama practice I'm going to teach you is Brahmari. And you can do this seated, you can do it reclining, but the setup's a little bit more involved reclining. So we'll start with the seated practice of Brahmari. This is the bumblebee breath. And the first piece I'll teach you is the mudra, which means a hand position. And it's Shanmukhi mudra, which is kind of like a mask that we put over our faces in a way to withdraw the sense organs. And so I'm not going to have you plug your ears, but I'll show you where all of the fingers go. So don't plug your ears yet because you need to hear, but your thumbs will be plugging your ears. Your index fingers fit along the brow ridge. Your middle fingers feel the eyelids together, not with any pressure to the eyeball. The ring fingers right outside the nostrils. And the small fingers, the pinky fingers, right outside the lips. And it's okay that they don't touch the lips. It's really just bringing attention there and signaling us to quiet down. So if this makes you claustrophobic at all, or it's just not working for you, you can do more of a helmet Shanmukhi, where you're just taking your thumbs still in your ears, but you're just kind of grabbing the top of your head with the other fingers. And so just relax your arms for now. The breathing piece is it's about the exhalation. We're going to make a buzzing vibration, kind of like the buzzing noise, except our lips are sealed. And you're going to kind of think about your tongue as it sits in the mouth, as elevated from the roof, slightly pulled back, and it's quivering. And you won't have to think about that action when you do it. I just want you to kind of be able to visualize it. Your body knows how to buzz. And it does kind of tickle, so you might have to overcome some of that. But the effect is one of the more quieting pranayamas. We usually do about 3 in a row. We sit with it. And then today we're going to repeat another set of 3. You won't be able to hear me because your ears are closed. And of course, we're not in a real classroom. So you're just going to do your 3 at your own speed. And then sit with a couple breaths after that 3rd one, and then repeating another 3 and then sitting. And I just want you to kind of feel how quiet it becomes after that buzzing loud sound in your head has dissipated and gone away. The effect can be quite peaceful. All right, so we're going to come into our mudra. Again, let me just show you before we get going here. It's going to be a nice inhale. You get the idea. For the extent of the full exhalation, when you need another breath in, you're going to do another long Brahmari out. And then, of course, that final one. And that is with including the mudra. So now we'll get the mudra going. Plugging your ears, go to the brow ridge, go to the eyelids, go to the nostrils, go to the lips. Take an inhale here and begin. Let's take one more round. After a few moments of sitting quietly, we want to again be aware of the transitions. Just try to kind of protect that calm and quiet place. We're going to build up our reclining pranayama setup, which is going to be a couple of blankets. We're going to open up and just kind of create a zigzag or a trifold with them. And you're going to stagger stack them. And that third blanket might be needed for the head, so just kind of leave it aside. You're going to have your butt on the ground or your mat. The first tier of the blanket is going to come kind of right to the lower ribs. And then the second tier will hit you right behind the chest. And then you want to kind of tuck some of the blanket up under your head, which is where that other blanket might come in handy. If you don't find that the rolling blanket feels good for your positioning, then you can take the second or the third blanket and cross it over the top of those two blankets. Now, because I'm going to instruct the pranayama, I'm not going to wear my eye covering, but if you have one, you might want to put it on now. So it's important to make sure that you're comfortable, that you've arrived into the right proportion of the blanket setup. We all have different proportions, so you want to make sure that the spacing is right so that you feel your chin and chest are coming together, your sternum is lifted, your lower back is supported and feeling long, and then your legs should be passive, your feet are open. And extend the arms out to your sides as if you're in Shavasana. The difference here is that we're really kind of opening up lung tissue, and we're supporting breath to climb into the chest and expand. So it's different than Shavasana when you're flat and your lung tissue is in a more neutral setting. It's also different because your chin and chest are snuggled together, which is a big piece of pranayama, especially when we're seated, to keep that connection strong. And so we're just going to come into Ujjayi breathing. So I want you to close your eyes and just kind of go through the steps as if you're coming into Shavasana, because the first piece of pranayama is really becoming familiar with your current state, physically, as far as breath, as far as the mind, and kind of feeling a sense of presence. Ujjayi 1 is really, there's no technique. It's your baseline breathing, the breath that is showing up right here, right now, exactly as it is. So you just probably heard me clear my throat. We're going to come into Ujjayi 2, which is emphasizing our exhalation. So it is actually the same muscle you use to clear the throat, except you use that action a lot more in a subtle way. So it kind of becomes like a Darth Vader sounding breath when you're able to tighten that muscle in the back of the throat, but not to the point of that hard clearing sound. So just play with that now. You can also discover it. It's the same action if you blow on a piece of glass to fog up your breath on a piece of glass, except your mouth is sealed. So whatever image works for you, whatever action helps you find the tightening in the back of the throat, you're just going to kind of find your way there. And we'll be applying that action to the exhalation only. And we don't have to apply it to every single exhale. So one of the most important things to know about pranayama is the utmost important primary goal of pranayama is to not disrupt the current physical state, the current mind state, not to agitate. So it's to soothe and deepen the inward involuting experience. So if you find your pranayama is agitating, or it's uncomfortable, or it's actually throwing your breath off, then you return to baseline Ujjayi 1 breath observation. No willful act on the breath. So that being said, it's up to you and only you to decide if you're going to try these every cycle of exhale, or you might skip and come in. You might not know yet. So just be fluid with it, be attentive. And we always start with the full inhale, full exhale before trying any techniques. So begin full inhale, full exhale when you're ready. Another full inhalation. Maybe making that first attempt on the Ujjayi exhale. At least one cycle of easy breath in and out, maybe more if it's needed. So as you kind of take off on your own here, what you're really trying to accomplish is a smoothness, a steadiness, and evenness of breath release. You might imagine it's like a leak in a valve. The nice thing is you can hear the breathing when we apply this tightening of the throat muscle. So you can listen for any excessive harshness in the breathing, which might show up as a ripple, which means you're overdoing. Cessation of breath, also a sign that you might be under or overdoing. So it's that smooth, even breath release. Be careful not to harden the abdomen when you're controlling the out breath. So as I said yesterday with class, that we really become more receptive with the ears in pranayama. All the other sense organs are off duty. So it's important that you're warm enough, that your eyes are neutral. That's why we use the eye covering. And that you've kind of taken care of the senses so they won't be nagging for your attention. We're going to try about 3 or 4 more rounds here, another couple of minutes. Now just wherever you are with it, come back to Ujjayi 1, baseline breathing, the breath you're watching. The word prana in Sanskrit means energy. Yama is restraint. And it's not really about breath control, it's about, well, it's hard to explain, but a way to manage the energy of the body with the breath. So this breath, Ujjayi 2, with the exhale emphasis, is down regulating to the nervous system. Very useful at times we feel anxious, we feel kind of upregulated, or the mind is hyperactive. So now we're going to come into Ujjayi 3, which is the emphasis on the inhale. And some people find it a little bit more challenging to apply the throat constriction on the in-breath. So you're just play with it. And maybe here you might need to skip a cycle. You may not. So again, just be really open to whatever the experience is and adapt to whatever your needs are. So it'll be the same practice, except we're going to be applying the throat constriction on the inhale. And we're just going to gently take an inhale, exhale to begin. And when you're ready, Ujjayi inhale. Normal exhalation. So as you're playing with it, there's an image that I often throw in, which I find useful, because the art of pranayama is so delicate. It's really a fine art. The idea that if there were a piece of tissue under your nose, it will not be shaking with this breathing practice. So the breath in is that slow and that steady that you wouldn't shake a piece of tissue. The tissue might shake with the not applied throat constriction on the exhale. So right now we're just talking about that image for the inhale. So this breath is really good when we are feeling low energy, low mood, maybe dull or sluggish, maybe depressive, maybe inert. This breath can rebalance the energies in the body. It can invite more energy and uplift in mood. So knowing when to apply these breathing techniques is just as important as learning the techniques. Just a few more rounds of Ujjayi inhale. And if you've left the Ujjayi inhales, you're just back in Ujjayi 1 breath observation. Listening inward. And find your way back to Ujjayi 1 if you haven't done so already. And now we're going to repeat the 2 practices, but including Viloma, which means we're going to interrupt the Ujjayi exhale. So we're going to go back to the Ujjayi exhale, but we're going to break it into 3 segments, which means there's 2 pauses. And the pauses are very brief. So it's not like you're holding your breath out for any amount of time. It's really just a beat. And you're immobilizing the diaphragm in that moment, which again doesn't mean hardening. It's just kind of frozen or stopped just for a moment, not hardened, just paused. And if, again, watch for that agitation. If it's too much too soon, just simply practice Ujjayi exhale. There'll be 3 equal parts. Only the pauses at the 2 segments, not at the end of the breath for any reason. So we'll begin with a full inhale, full exhale. Another inhale, and then constricting the throat, find that first segment of out breath, smooth and steady, pause. Second segment, pause. Third segment, finish, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in. Begin again if you're ready. I don't usually guide in the moment pranayama because we all breathe at different rhythms. And with these pauses that really should be self-determined, I like to say a beat. Pause for a beat. Because we're dealing with a couple different practices here, make sure to take a full cycle of Ujjayi 1. Easy breath back in, easy breath out, easy breath in, and then begin again if you're ready. Interrupted exhale. One of the images I use here is some of us have had the experience of getting caught, stuck on a gondola or a chairlift. So you can kind of think about the stretch of the exhale as the start and the finish points. And then maybe there's just a couple stops there. Chairlift stops, and then it goes again. And then it stops. And because this is exhale, for some reason you're on the downhill descent of the chairlift. You didn't get off at the top. I like to think about exhale being the downhill part of the breath. So just come into a few more cycles. Maybe with that image, leave it if it doesn't work for you. Wherever you are now, you're just going to find your way back to Ujjayi 1, breath observation, passive witness of breath. So Viloma 2, interrupted inhale, energizing breathing. Same image, except the gondola is going up the hill this time. We'll start with a full inhale, full exhale. Begin the first segment of breath, pause. Second segment, pause. Third segment. Nice, easy exhalation. Easy inhale. Easy exhale. And begin again if you're ready. You can also think about the journey of the breath as it moves from the lower diaphragm all the way to the upper diaphragm. Never trying to inflate the belly. Your belly should never rise above the lower ribs. Breath should rise up to the chest and spread like a fountainhead. 3 segments of breath. And really the art should be bringing ease to this practice. Not overdoing it, not hyperventilating. Keep your gaze pointed away from the brain. When we do emphasize inhale, sometimes the eyes like to roll up. Wherever you are with the practice, you're going to find your way now back to Ujjayi 1. And as quietly and gently as you can, roll to your side just to remove the height from under the lungs. So that means you're taking everything away but some head support if you need it. Make sure you're warm enough. We will do a Shavasana, which is important after pranayama, not only to put the lung tissue back to neutral, but to just kind of be with whatever is. Enjoying the sweet reward of this very quieting work. And no willful act applied to the breath. Just simply allowing for breath. I'm going to leave everybody where they are. Feel free to come out when you're ready. I'm going to stop the video here. Namaste.